All right, give me 1 minute. Sorry, man. Give me like another minute. My phone just got all screwed up.
You're fine.
All right. All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, good. How you doing, everybody, and welcome to the Moffett on the Mic radio show. We are live, as always, courtesy of the A1 Sports Network. It's been a while, so we've missed you all. I am Craig Moffett, and of course, this show would not be complete without. Dude, you got to shave that mustache, but we'll talk about that.
You don't.
Right, you just look like a creepy. You look like a creepy librarian or something like that. So.
I'm liking the mustache, but a lot of people aren't liking it. But
the production stylings of Sir Stash himself, Chris Klim.
What's going on, Craig?
Klim, it has been a while, man. How you doing?
I'll say it's been a while. It's been so long, I grew a mustache.
Yeah,
that's how long it's been. No, but in reality, it's been like a week. It always feels like whenever we take a week off, like it feels longer than that.
Well, the thing is that next week is Thanksgiving, so we're not going to do any shows, obviously, next week. So we were trying to squeeze in a show where we can. So I'm kind of glad we did. But I'm glad we were able to get one in today because there was a lot going on. And I thought by then it was going to be like just, a lot of all the stuff we wanted to talk about was going to be in the past. But I will say one thing. So I am listening to this week's episode of What's Wrong with Wrestling.
Yes.
Okay. Andrew Pisano does the best impersonation of Kevin Owens I have ever heard in my life.
Oh, my God. So good.
We need to get him on the show, and we need to get Joe on the show, and we need to do like a contest. See who has the better because his Kevin Owens impersonation is spot on. It's
really good. All the impressions they do are spot on, I think.
So, but no, their show was like in rare form this week. It was actually really funny because they were talking about Survivor Series and how like guys are just getting kicked off the team for no reason whatsoever. It just like doesn't make any sense. So, well, listen, man, we got a lot to do, not a lot of time to do it. So we're going to get into all the Jets talk with the Jets playing the Dolphins this weekend. Joe Flacco starting on Sunday. We're going to get into Noah Syndergaard leaving the Mets, going to the Angels. The Mets have a new GM in Billy Epler. I thought we'd do a little bit of early Nets and Knicks reviews to start the season. And we'll talk about the Islanders getting ready to open UBS Arena Saturday night against the Calgary Flames. We'll do how did our former Jets fare this week? And I thought we'd have a little fun at the Jet fan expense. What do you think, Klim?
Look, I'm always down to bash some Jet fans.
So I've put together, and I got this idea today because of all the Jet fans bitching and moaning about Flacco starting, right? So I decided to put together a timeline of the endless amounts of Jets fans who have bitched and complained about certain things that have happened to the team over the year, starting from last January when Saleh became the head coach. So it's almost like how it started and how's it going kind of type of thing. More like how it started and the end result of it. All right. So we'll do that in the sec. We'll do that like a little bit. We'll do that later. All right. But It's a lot of fun. And I kind of laugh because like all the times that I have on here, something the opposite happened. So it made it made it even more funny because it just really showed how like Jet fans are just like completely lost it. So we'll get into that in a minute. So let's get into the elephant in the room, and that's this whole Joe Flacco thing. So apparently I couldn't figure out why this was a thing. Why was this being made into such a big deal? Okay. Now look, everybody jumped on, Klim, what's the one thing I've always said about Jet fans or Jets beat writers? It is highest of highs, lowest of lows. There's never really any middle ground. When Mike White threw for over 400 yards and two touchdowns, I think it was, everybody was here. And on Monday, everybody went out and bought his jersey because he's Mike White, Mike effing White. Okay? Never really kind of coming down from the high. Even some fans are saying how they think they found their version of Tom Brady, okay, and everything. So it was like, temper your expectations. Get a grip, okay? Get a fucking grip. So fast forward to the Colts game where he hurts his hand. Like I think he lost feeling in his hand because he hit it on somebody's helmet or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Zach Wilson starts practicing before the Buffalo game. Saleh declares White the starter. I was okay with that move. Okay.
So was I.
I was perfectly fine with Mike White being the starting quarterback for the Buffalo Bills game. If Zach's not 100%, there's no reason to throw him out there. Okay. I did not expect Mike White to throw 405 yards again and like 3 touchdowns. I don't know if Jet fans did, but I knew better. I felt like maybe he would come down to earth. I did think that the Bills would have a little bit of trouble with the Jets offense because of Elijah Moore, Corey Davis being back in the lineup, and everything. That turned out to not really be the case. Mike White proceeds to have the worst game possible for the Jets. 4 picks, just a brutal game all around, taking too many deep shots when that's not really his end game. and they wound up getting crushed. That's more because of the defense being so bad. The defense was just a complete disaster. Here's the thing, though. So we come into this week getting ready to play the Dolphins. This is part of the stretch of the schedule where it's not that bad for the Jets. You have the Dolphins, you have the Texans. I think you have the Dolphins again. You have the Saints right around the corner after that, who I think are a beatable team. They have a lot of beatable teams on the schedule. Now, I'm not going to delude myself into thinking they're going to go to the playoffs because I know they're not. But let's call a spade, Klim. Saleh needs a win. He's got to get a W here.
He does.
So he thinks that the best course of action. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, there's not a lot of must-win games for the Jets on this thing. But like you said, these next upcoming games are these are very beatable teams. We could beat the Dolphins. Like, we should beat the Dolphins. Like, the Dolphins are hurting everywhere. We should be able to beat the Dolphins, and especially the way we've seen this offense play against the Bengals and the Titans this year. We're very capable of beating this team, and we should beat this team. And this is literally a must-win because this is such a bad team. Yeah,
and I agree with you. 100%. The Dolphins beat the Ravens last Thursday. Big deal. The squirrel, even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. Because before that, they had 5 turnovers, and they gave up 5 turnovers to the Houston Texans, but still managed to beat them. That's just to show you how terrible the Texans really are as a team. My point is, Saleh decides that he's going to start Joe Flacco. I personally don't have a problem with this. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, everybody is having a heart attack about it. Everybody literally having a heart attack. Oh, what's the point? Why not start Mike White? Hey, listen, I don't disagree with that either. Okay? If he decided to go with Mike White,
right?
If you go with Mike White, it's basically one and the same. It's kind of like the same thing as going with Joe Flacco. Okay?
No, you're absolutely right.
Maybe you see if the kid has confidence, he bounces back from a really, really crappy start against a very good Buffalo Bills team. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I understand where Saleh's coming from here.
Right.
Because if he throws Mike White out there again, and Mike White has another game where he throws 2 or 3 interceptions, okay, against the Dolphins team that likes to blitz. They're a blitzing football team. That's going to be 10 times worse for Saleh than just going with Joe Flacco, who's kind of the stable QB of the two.
No, you're absolutely right. And we have our first comment, Mike Laws. I like Joe Flacco. Gives us the best chance to win. He also commented, I want wins. He's right.
Mike. Thank you, Mike. You're 100% right. Because, again, that's what it's all about, right? Because here's the problem. Jet fans have kind of gone into their let's play for the draft pick cocoon.
Okay? Yeah.
That's it. That's where they're going now. Now it's just about playing for the draft pick at this point. They want to pick 3rd overall or 2nd overall or whatever it is. I don't really care. I want to see wins, man. Like, I'm tired of having my Sundays ruined by bad losses. Like, I don't even watch football on Sundays anymore. Because I'm just sick and tired of the Jets just crushing my damn Sundays.
Like, I'm all for, getting a high draft pick. I'm all for that. But again, like, I've said it once and I've said it 1,000 times every time we come on here and talk about the Jets. I don't care about wins. I mean, yeah, wins are nice, but especially right here, we need a win. But I just want to see these guys get better and better and better each and every week. That's all I really want to see out of this Jets.
And the thing is, you are seeing guys that are really standing out from this year's draft class. You're seeing Elijah Moore starting to pick up and he's having a solid season. He's arguably turning into one of our best receiver. Okay? Michael Carter out of the backfield is definitely making plays. Elijah Vera Tucker is one of the top guards in the league right now. Even a guy like Brandon Echols as a 6th-round pick, I know he got hurt in the Buffalo game. But even Brandon Echols really hasn't been that bad for a rookie 6th-round pick.
No, you're absolutely right.
And the fact is that those are the baby steps you want to see. Now, look, the record is the record. The record sucks. They're 2-7. But in a weird way, like I'm not surprised because we all knew this was not going to be a great season for them. We all knew this was not going to be a playoff season. We all knew that this was not going to be a, number 1 seed, number 2 seed type of thing. So here's my question. What's the big fucking deal if Joe Flacco starts on Sunday?
There is no big deal. I don't know why people are making.
There is no big deal about this whatsoever. I don't want to hear about, well, we got to develop Mike White. I mean, in a weird way, Mike White sealed his fate last Sunday. And I hate to say it because I would have liked to have seen Mike White go another game. I've been perfectly happy with Mike White starting on Sunday. But Saleh needs wins now. Saleh needs wins. He's got to get some W's. And the reason why Joe Flacco is starting at the end of the day is because Joe Flacco doesn't turn the ball over nearly as much as Mike White.
No, you're absolutely right. And like I said, like we traded for Joe Flacco for the reason we had no. If it wasn't for Mike White being a stud in his game, Joe Flacco would have started last week. That's the only reason Mike White started because he had an amazing, great game. And it's like, how can you not start Mike White again? And I get it completely, but this is why we got Joe Flacco in here. This is what we got him for. Mike commented again, how come no one's killing the coaches? When is the honeymoon over?
Well, listen, Mike, I totally get where you're coming from. Saleh does deserve to take some heat, more for the defense being so crappy than anything else. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to kill LaFleur anymore because LaFleur's offense has actually been better.
It has been better.
Everyone forgets that last week they just played the best defense in the AFC.
Right.
And they're still a young team. Now, I'm not making excuses for them, so let me get that out of the way. I want to see the Jets win these games, and I want to see the Jets be competitive. You see, that's the thing that bothers me more than anything about the Jets right now is not the fact that they're losing these games, but by the time the first quarter's over, the game is over.
Right.
Because they're losing 17-3. They were down 38-3 before they finally scored a touchdown. And by the way, guess who threw that touchdown?
Wow, just blank. Wasn't it Josh Johnson?
It was Joe Flacco.
Oh, Joe Flacco.
Jesus Christ!
Look, it's so hard to watch Jet games.
I think the freaking follicles in your mustache got to your brain.
It's very possible.
But I mean, the thing is yeah, you know what? Saleh definitely deserves heat. The fact that the team looks unprepared, the fact that the team looks unmotivated, which we thought was a Saleh staple. We thought we had gotten out from under the Gase shell. Okay? So yes, Robert Saleh definitely deserves the heat. I'm not saying he doesn't. Doesn't deserve to get fired, but he definitely deserves some heat for not having his team focused, motivated. Why is there no fight in them or anything? And not for nothing, and I thought about this the other day too, for a franchise that constantly gets ridiculed by Ted Lasso, by Saturday Night Live, you think maybe you'd want to shake that moniker a little bit? Getting ridiculed by Tom Brady every week, getting ridiculed by Bill Belichick every week. Don't you think you might want to shake that moniker just a tad?
Like, I understand.
Put your best foot forward. Put your A game out there.
Like, I understand it's a process. Side note, Ted Lasso, great fucking show. So good.
I don't watch Apple. I don't have Apple TV, so
it's so good. I highly recommend it. But I get it's a process with Flacco, LaFleur, Ulbrich, all these guys. I understand that. But you gotta see we gotta see some fight out of these guys. Like, we gotta see something. Like, again, we're starting to see some of these guys improve. Like AVT, one of the best rookies in offensive linemen that were drafted. Michael Carter is starting to look better and better. Elijah Moore is starting to look better and better. That's all we really want to see, but we got to see some wins here. We got to start producing some wins along top of this to give these guys some confidence at least.
And at the same time, Clem, what I'll tell you is that let me think about what I'm going to say before I say it. I'm happy to see some of the development. I'm happy to see some of these guys slowly developing into, hopefully a very strong draft class. But I need to see the fight. I need to see the competitors. When you're down 17-3, you need to make a comeback.
Right.
And I'm very concerned about the defense in a way. I'm concerned about Saleh because I'm not saying that Saleh is the wrong choice for the Jets. It's just I think he's becoming too nice of a coach. And I think that sometimes you do have to get in their face. And sometimes you do have to yell at them a little bit to make them understand what's going on here. Okay? Don't come out in your press conferences and say, well, when it all comes together, it's going to be really awesome. Okay? And maybe you're right. But you know who used to say that too? Luis Rojas.
Yeah.
Remember how many times Luis Rojas and Pete Alonso and all the Mets were like, "Oh yeah, we're on the cusp and it's really going to be good." And and then what happened? The Mets still kept losing. He's got to be more in your face with these guys, especially the defense, because that defensive line has not been good. Quinnen Williams, John Franklin Myers, ever since he signed the new extension, he really's been he disappeared. Sheldon Rankins really hasn't been that great. Foley Fatukazi hasn't been that great. The linebackers are already a little bit of a vulnerability because, you lost Jamie and Sherwood. Jared Davis hasn't been good. And then the secondary, when you lose both of your starters in the safety position, you've got no chance. It's ridiculously unfair to kill Ashton Davis right now.
No, I think it is unfair, but I don't think I also have to say I don't think Ashton Davis is up to it. I don't think he's that good of a player. But no, you're absolutely right. And I think
Ashton Davis, the thing is, you're throwing Ashton Davis out to the wolves right now because you don't have Marcus May. You don't have Lamarcus Joyner.
Right.
So you don't have a choice but to throw. This is trial by fire for Ashton Davis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he's getting the butt end of the stick.
He's not playing well because, again, he hasn't had a lot of reps because he's been hurt, a decent portion of the season. But on top of that, he's the most experienced safety they have.
Yeah, they don't have anyone else.
The veterans haven't been there that long. And now you're going to put Javelin Guidry into a corner spot because Eccles is pretty much out for the season.
Yeah.
So, this is the team they wanted. So these are the growing pains you're going to have.
I agree with you. These are the growing pains. But back to Saleh, I think he does need to start taking a little bit more effect on this defense because we saw it when he was with the 49ers. They didn't have the best players in the world on there. Yeah, they had Nick Bosa, they had Richard Sherman, but there were some other guys on that team making some solid. They were good enough to get big contracts when they left.
Klim, I'll do you one better. Those guys, all their best players got hurt on defense, and Saleh still put together a top 5 D. The key is that if you don't have the pass rushers, the secondary is going to be exploited.
Yes.
If they're not getting to the quarterback, they've got no chance to succeed.
No, you're right. And losing Carl Lawson was big for us when, especially when we had such a young offense. But it's not like we haven't seen flashes of Quinnen Williams getting to the quarterback, John Franklin Myers getting to the quarterback, Quincy Williams, Sheldon Rankins. We know this team can get it, but again, it's just it's spurts of they look great here. But these next 3 games, they look like shit. But then they look good here. But then they look like crap these next 2 games. It's not consistent. It's really not consistent.
It's a very simple thing. Either these guys are not schemed up properly, or, again, you sacrifice the defense for the sake of the offense this year. Because most of the free agents they brought in were offensive players. Corey Davis, Keelan Cole, Tyler Kroft, Morgan Moses. You had 4 draft picks, basically all offense. Zach Wilson, Elijah Moore, Elijah Vera Tucker, Michael Carter. You sacrificed all but again, this was a team that was devoid of offensive talent. So you had no choice but to just focus on the offense 1 year. And then maybe next year you focus on the defense. This is going to be a very good defensive class this year in the draft. I don't know where. I don't think they'll wind up with Kevin Thibodeau, but I think they'll wind up. They'll probably wind up getting somebody good. But they can also continue to rebuild the offensive line. Get an interior guard to replace Greg Van Roten.
Oh my God!
Look for a center. Van Roten has been a little bit better, but he's still bad. I'm not trying to.
I'm already looking at mock drafts and everything like that, and I think I'm saying it now. I think with our first 2 picks, if we get it inside the top 10. I think we either trade both of them up for Thibodeau, or we draft Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame and Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan.
See, I would go for Hutchinson first.
Oh no, that wasn't in any order. I was just
he's a pass rusher, and they need pass rush help. And listen, they'll get Lawson back, and I'm sure they'll be active in free agency and everything. I don't disagree with that. But Douglas is not going to break the bank for big time free agents. You know this.
Yeah.
He's going to be very selective. And I think so far, listen, I think Lawson was a bad break. I think Lawson would have been a really good addition to this defense.
Yeah, you can't blame Carl Lawson's injury on Joe Douglas.
I think Corey Davis has been good. I think he could be better.
Injured.
He's had some drops, but I think he's also, he had a bad fumble in the Bills game. But I think he's been good. I don't think he's been as bad as everybody makes him out to be.
When he plays, he's good, but he's been, injured the past on and off the past few weeks.
But at the end of the day, Joe Flacco starting on Sunday is the least of this team's problems.
Right.
The main thing you should be worried about right now with this team is the defense. Is this defense going to get torched for another 400 yards against Tua on Sunday? The Dolphins don't run an explosive offense.
No.
But the one thing the Jets get killed on are the screens. Screen to Myles Gaskin will get you 20 yards, with the Jets defense, because they all fucking bite on the same play. But the thing with me is that I can't for the life of me figure out why Jets fans are complaining about this so much. Why is this a joke? Why is this an embarrassment? Because Mike White's not starting? I mean, seriously? If you need a W right now, I think Joe Flacco gives you the best chance to win over Mike White.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And so was Mike. When Mike commented, we want some wins now. Enough is enough, especially against easy teams that we got coming up, like the Miami twice, the Texans. We can easily win. I was looking at the rest of our schedule. We could win 5 games. We could really win 5 games.
And the thing is, you're going to have to scheme it to the point where you may have to send the kitchen sink every time at this quarterback, because that's the only way you're going to protect your secondary. But Joe Flacco can extend drives. Okay? He can pick up blitzes better. Is he a mobile quarterback? No, he's not a mobile quarterback. But at the end of the day, he'll probably get the ball out quicker for you than Mike White will.
Right.
And the thing is, listen, I respect Mike White, and I think Mike White did a good job, except for the Buffalo game. But the one thing I got annoyed at with Mike White was he started getting cocky after the Cincinnati game, when everybody was on the Mike White hype train. When he saw his jersey go to Canton. Okay? He started getting cocky. He started getting a little on the arrogant side, talking about how he believes that he should have been the number 1 overall pick. And you went in the 5th round. Okay? And again, another question. If all these guys on the roster are going to rally around and say, yeah, that's Mike effing White, and then why don't they rally around the guy? Where was the effort from the offensive good players? Where was the effort from the defensive players? How many times have we talked about this on the show, Klim? How many times have we talked about how Jets players always talk this bullshit about how they run through a wall for a coach, and then when game day comes, they never do?
No, you're absolutely right. You never see it. Like, again, Mike with this chanting Mike White's name. Like, Mike was like, it's got to end at some point. He was on this high of, and look, he has every right to be, because that was a fantastic game he played. He has every right to be on the high and everything like that. But let's continue that high. Let's not come out flat-footed. I get you were playing against the best defense in the AFC, arguably the best defense in the NFL. But you got to step up, especially when your teammates are rallying behind you, the fans are rallying behind you, the coaches made it seem like we're really not committed to Zach Wilson. Like, if Mike White keeps playing, that's what they made it really sound like.
One goddamn game, these Jet fans were already wanting to trade Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
They had already bought, because, again, they always flock to the flavor of the month. Or let me rephrase that, the flavor of the minute. Okay? Always flock to that, the minute somebody gives you a little bit of hope. They right away latch onto that like there's no tomorrow. And then they're the ones killing the fucking team when the team does poorly.
Mm-hmm.
They overhype these guys. And then they have the fucking nerve to rip the team to shreds because their savior failed. Their savior failed. Right?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
And again, I will tell the story again because we're going to move on to the other shit. Okay? Again, reminds me of 5 or 6 years ago. Okay? Todd Bowles is the coach. Mike McCagnon is the general manager. Okay? This is a year after Ryan Fitzpatrick had a great season for the Jets. And my dad and I went to this Jets town hall where you get to meet Bowles and you get to meet McCagnon. You can ask them questions about, the team and everything. Okay? At the time, Ryan Fitzpatrick had still not been signed. And Jet fans were literally shitting in their pants.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were afraid that Ryan Fitzpatrick was going to go to another team. And I will never forget this. And I'm listening to the Jet fans, and every question to Mike McCagnon was, well, why can't we take this money and put it towards a certain quarterback who wears number 14? Why can't we do this to get Ryan Fitzpatrick? They had latched on to Ryan Fitzpatrick like he was the savior of the team. And you remember what happened that year? He played like shit.
Yep.
He played unbelievably crappy, and he was off the team a year later. You can't keep latching onto these guys the second they have a good game. Because you're going to be terribly let down. You see, that's the beauty about me. I already set my expectations low. So I can't be terribly disappointed. I could be annoyed. But I'm not going to sit here and say, well, the franchise is a dumpster fire, because that's the new great term that they use for everything. I personally don't see at the end of the day why Joe Flacco starting this game is such a big deal.
It's not. It really is not. People, like I said, we've said it time and time again on this show that Jet fans love to complain about shit that in reality they shouldn't be complaining about.
They're the best general managers in hindsight. Everybody
Yep.
knows that. Fans are the best general managers. They all think they know how to run a team. They all think it's as easy as, I'm going to throw you a whole bunch of money. They have no fucking clue how to run a team.
No idea.
They think that just because they play Madden every year on the franchise mode, that they know how to build a roster.
Look, because if it was that easy, me and you would be running the Jets right now.
Yeah. If it was easy to coach the Jets, I'd coach them. It's not. It's not easy to coach an NFL football team. These players have seen it all, and they've been through it all. But honestly, I want to see a W. And if that means Joe Flacco has to start, who am I to question Robert Saleh?
Exactly.
Jet fans, fucking get over it. Joe Flacco starting on Sunday. Stop your bitching on WFAN. Stop your bitching on your bullshit YouTube videos. Get over it. It's done. And I guarantee, now look, if Zach is healthy next week for Houston, he should start against Houston.
Yes.
Okay?
Agreed.
I don't care what Joe Flacco does on Sunday. Just because Joe Flacco wins the start doesn't mean he gets another one.
Right.
If Zach Wilson is 100% healthy for Sunday's game, you need to put him out there.
Yeah, because now that Mike White is back to being Mike White, but there's no excitement. We got to get Zach on the field. We got to get him reps.
Put LaFleur in the booth. Put Zach in the starting lineup, and let's see what happens to close the season.
Yep.
Now, very quickly on Rex Ryan, because this fucking guy. Okay. Here's the thing about Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan, he wasn't necessarily wrong with what he said about Robert Saleh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But he took it really personally that everybody compares him to Saleh. And to be very honest, Saleh was a very good coordinator, just like Rex. See, Rex wasn't that great of a coach. Yes, I know he took the Jets to back-to-back AFC Championship games. That was also 11 years ago. Okay? So let's get that out of the way. Robert Saleh has always run a top defense in San Francisco through the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Joey Bosa, or Nick Bosa, when they had Arik Armstead, DeForest Buckner. I mean, just name it. Okay? Rex Ryan feels this weird sense of entitlement because he was the last coach to take the Jets anywhere in the postseason. So he feels like they should have a fucking statue enshrined to him at Florham Park. And the thing is that while Rex Ryan did do a good job coaching the Jets for those first 2 years, he also inherited a lot of those guys. He inherited David Harris and Darrelle Revis. He brought in his guys like Bart Scott and Jim Leonard, drafted Mark Sanchez. Brought in guys like LaDainian Tomlinson because they loved Rex. Jason Taylor. You ever think Jason Taylor would be in a Jets uniform?
No, that was great, though. I love Jason Taylor.
No, I loved him. When he sacked Tom Brady in the playoffs, I loved every minute of that. Brady didn't have a freaking prayer in that game. But here's the problem I have with Rex. Rex seems to have selective amnesia. Rex seems to forget the years after those 2 years, when the team was a complete disaster, when we couldn't hire a competent general manager because Woody Johnson insisted that they keep Rex Ryan, for basically ruining Mark Sanchez's career by playing him in the Snoopy Bowl in the fourth quarter against a bunch of backup linemen. And what happened? He got sacked and he separated his shoulder. And he was done for the season and his career with the Jets was over.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Rex Ryan could win a fucking trophy because that's how much of an idiot Rex Ryan really is a lot of times. Where else? How about the horrible draft picks over the years? You don't think Rex Ryan's fingerprints were on those?
Oh, they were.
D. Milner, Quentin Copels, Calvin Pryor. Those guys should still be in the league right now, Klim. And they're not. Those are first-round picks that are not in the league. I even give you one better. Kyle Wilson. Remember Kyle Wilson?
No, I hated Kyle Wilson. Never liked Kyle Wilson.
And we picked him at the bottom of the first round. They're like, oh, man, that's a great pick. And he was a fucking disaster.
I thought that was a terrible pick by the Jets back then. I hated it. Never liked it.
Right? But that's my point. See, Rex forgets all that shit. Need I continue? The fact that Rex couldn't develop a quarterback. Okay? You know Rex had something to do with bringing in Tim Tebow, which also damaged Mark Sanchez's confidence. He never truly brought in a good veteran to challenge Sanchez either.
Right.
Okay? And I'm not talking about veteran mentorship. That shit's overrated. I'm talking about a veteran that Sanchez looks over his shoulder and says, shit, I got to be on my game. Because this guy, I'm going to take my job. We had 41-year-old Mark Brunell. There was no way Brunell was going to take that job. No way he was going to steal Mark Sanchez's job. And what that did was Mark Sanchez got complacent.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't work as hard as he used to. And he was still throwing the crappy interceptions that he always throws. That's it, guys. So before Rex Ryan goes and runs his mouth, he might want to take a look in the mirror and stop being fucking Al Bundy, basically trying to live off your past glories as a coach. Because he tried to do the same. You know what he did in Buffalo? He literally took the same coaching staff from the Jets and brought them to Buffalo.
Players, too.
And they were terrible in Buffalo.
There were some players he took right from that were free agents from the Jets that were like backups, and he was like, "Oh, they'll be good on the Bills."
And those are the funny things that make me laugh about Rex Ryan. So while I don't, Rex Ryan has an opinion. I don't, the defense has been really horrible, but he's like, yeah, I take it personally that you guys are comparing me to Saleh, or Saleh's comparing, you're comparing Saleh to me. Like he's like this arrogant, like dickwad of a coach. And at the end of the day, listen, I appreciate what Rex brought to the Jets. I loved when the Jets hired Rex Ryan. But he couldn't continue it. He thought the Jets had arrived. There was nothing more he had to teach them. And just like that, the Jets just completely imploded. And then you had all the fucking infighting among the team. So while the first 2 years were great under Rex, the last 3 or 4 were a disaster. And because of that, we couldn't bring in a general manager because the general manager wanted nothing to do with him.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever, speak your opinion. ESPN guys have the most ridiculous opinions, to say the least. But it's like, cool it with the whole, yeah, I take that personally. I find that it's offensive that you would compare me to him. I'm the greatest thing that ever happened to the Jets, kind of thing. It's
right.
But it's like Rex forgets all those moments. He only remembers the 2 years. When Sanchez completely collapsed as a quarterback, Rex didn't take any responsibility. Rex never drafted offensive players. He only drafted defensive guys in the first round. Sanchez was the only guy he drafted in the first round. Everyone else was defense.
Yep.
Copels, Milner, Sheldon Richardson, Mo Wilkerson,
Kyle Wilson, Calvin Pryor,
Quentin Copels, all those were Rex. All those were Rex. He is just as much to blame for the collapse of this franchise over the years, for the terrible drafting, for the pivoting to overpaying free agents and getting crushed by the cap. And that's why they are where they are now. That's exactly why.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to baseball. Mets making some news this week. Yankees not so much, although there's a lot of talk that they're probably not going to wind up with Carlos Correa. But because apparently his money is exorbitant or some shit like that. I don't know. I don't know all the details. But obviously the big news was the Mets finally hired a general manager. They hired former Angels GM Billy Epler to be the new general manager. If I could be very honest, you want to talk about something that was just so anticlimactic that this whole search was botched so much that unless Brian Cashman was walking through that door, whoever was taking the job was going to be very meh.
Oh yeah. Like this move did not move the needle for me at all. I was like, all right, cool. Billy Epler.
Well, okay.
That's it. Nothing crazy.
Exactly. I have a few issues with it. And Keith actually brought up a good one when we were talking about it the other day. Number one, he comes from an organization that doesn't build pitching. So there's your first red flag with Billy Epler. He does not invest in pitching. He does not pay for pitching. He buys hitters, but he doesn't pay for pitching. That's why the Angels have had a shitty staff for years and years. The second part of it is that, like we said just now, Sandy Alderson botched this from the beginning. If you're going to get a true president of baseball operations, Sandy's got to go. You can't keep him around because it sends a lot of mixed messages to the candidates. The candidates are sitting there going, what the fuck? What is this guy's role here? Am I going to be the guy building the roster, or do I have to run all my decisions through him?
Right.
Okay. And then, by the way, then you have his kid as the assistant general manager. And do I really want his kid snooping around my office so he can go run to daddy and tell him, oh, well, I don't know what the hell he's doing. It doesn't make any sense. Okay? That's where it got really bad because Sandy Alderson is still making decisions without the person in charge to make those decisions.
Right.
The second part of it is at the GM meetings, he comes off in this press conference and he starts talking about the position. And basically he says, in not too many words, that it's going to be like a 1-year audition. And if you do really well, maybe we'll give you another year. Do you know how brain dead that sounded?
We're not that's so stupid because we're not a team that's like, oh, we're building still. No, we're here. We're ready to go. We have the best pitcher in baseball. We arguably have the best first baseman in baseball. You have arguably the best shortstop in baseball. We are here. We're ready to go now. And the fact that it's 1-year deals kind of.
But who's going to take the job? Who's going to take the job for 1 year? Because then it gets leaked out. Then, of course, in typical Mets fashion, they fucking leak it out. Not leaked it out, but apparently it was leaked out that their plan was they're going to wait out David Stearns. And then when his contract is up in 2022, they're going to pounce on him to be the new president of baseball operations. Okay? Stearns apparently wants the job, but the Milwaukee Brewers refuse to let him leave because they really like him. Well, why would you make that public knowledge?
Right.
Like, why would you allow that to get leaked out to the public? Now you kind of inadvertently tampered with the guy, which makes an awkward situation for all parties involved.
Right.
And then, like we said, at the end of the day, Epler is the guy, but it's like, who cares? It's almost like now look, if the Mets start winning, no one will give a shit about this procedure. We already know that. But the funniest part about it is like when they announced his hiring, it was like, yeah, you could have just saved us the aggravation and hired the guy 3 weeks ago. And if you're a woman, would you really want to work in this organization right now? With all the stories of, Jared Porter sexting female reporters, Mickey Callaway sexually harassing female reporters, your former assistant general manager is drunk behind the wheel of a car sleeping. I mean, honestly, if I was a woman taking this job, I would basically be like, I run the show.
Yeah.
Like, not him. I run the show.
But again, like even like with going back to Billy Epler, like he didn't do the greatest job with the Angels. I mean, the only bright spot person he ever signed really was Shohei Ohtani. He got Shohei Ohtani to the Angels, and congratulations on him on just winning the MVP. That's his only move. Yeah, he brought in Anthony Rendon. He hasn't done anything. He brought in Justin Upton. He hasn't done anything. Andrelton Simmons. He hasn't done anything. He didn't draft Mike Trout. The only thing, I think he gave him an extension. Woo! He gave Mike Trout an extension. That's it.
Yeah, but here's a big problem now, Klim. Okay? The fact is that right now, I don't know what the Mets' strategy is with Epler.
Mm-hmm.
You have to hire a manager, and that manager is already going to have his pitching coach sitting there waiting because the Mets didn't want to let Jeremy Hefner go.
Right.
So the early rumors going around is that not the leading candidate, but one of the candidates that are linked to Epler is Brad Ausmus.
I saw that.
I don't know what to think of it. I don't know if Ausmus is a good manager or not. I mean, he was there. He was with the Angels for a year before they hired Joe Madden, but I don't know how good of a manager he is. I mean, didn't he lead the Tigers to the World Series? Was that him, or was that Gardenhire?
That was Gardenhire. I don't think Ausmus did that.
You don't think it was Ausmus?
I'll look it up real quick.
Look it up real quickly because I think it was, but I don't remember too well.
But it's not like you had to coach when he was there with the Tigers. It's not like you had to coach much. You literally had arguably the best pitching staff in baseball at that time with Verlander, Scherzer.
But maybe it's also okay. Listen, the Mets have a talented team. It just needs to be tweaked a little bit. Okay? It needs to be tweaked. You already know you have Pete Alonso. You know you have Francisco Lindor. You have Jacob deGrom. You're going to have James McCann back for another year. You have Brandon Nimmo. You have talented players right now in this roster. I just think it needs a little bit of a reshuffling of the deck. Maybe Dom Smith is better suited to be on another team where you can get a couple of prospects back. Maybe you can rebuild your outfield by moving Nimmo to a corner spot and trying to bring in Starling Marte to play center field.
Okay, yeah, he led the Tigers to the ALDS, lost in 3 games, and it was all downhill after that with the Tigers.
Okay. So in other words, he's not really anything special.
Nope.
So the only other rumor that's been going around is Joe Espada, who's the Houston Astros bench coach. He's like the only other guy that they've been that linked to it. And they don't.
I heard those two, and I did hear Buck Showalter.
Well, Epler knows Buck Showalter, so that's why Showalter's coming in. But I'm concerned. The only thing I would love Buck. Don't get me wrong. I would take Buck in 2 seconds. The question becomes, can Buck deal with Sandy Alderson and Steve Cohen? And that's where I'm a little concerned about. Ausmus is the type of guy that would probably take the job just to take a job. I think Buck would be a little bit hesitant because he doesn't want the owner meddling in his affairs. He doesn't want the owner, tweeting about shit. He doesn't want any of that stuff. That's not how he runs a team. It's too distracting.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. But I mean,
you got to clear up the Javi Baez situation. You got to clear, what are we doing about the rotation now that Syndergaard is in LA? Not that Syndergaard is a huge loss. I don't think he is. I think it was pretty much, again, blown out of proportion. But
I think we have a Wheeler situation here with letting Syndergaard go. But that's the thing.
Okay, all right. Fair, let's jump to that then. Okay, let's jump to Syndergaard. Here's my question at the end of the day. If you're going to bring Noah Syndergaard back, and the Mets offered him the qualifying offer, which is $19 million, which is a pretty fair offer for a guy who hasn't pitched in 2 years. Okay? He hasn't pitched in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time he tried to come back over the summer, he had a setback and couldn't come back until the end of September. As far as I'm concerned at this stage, Syndergaard is damaged goods. You can't worry about him doing well. And not only that, he didn't exactly go to a place that's screaming World Series champion.
Right.
Okay?
But here's my thing with Syndergaard. The one thing we talked about with Steve Cohen got here is he's got deep pockets. He can do all these moves. And I don't think it was Steve Cohen on this one. I think it was the inability of Sandy Alderson to find a GM and Sandy Alderson's cheapness, because the Angels didn't offer much more than what the Mets offered him. I think like you said, the Mets offered him $19 million. The Angels offered him $21 million. You mean to tell me that Steve Cohen doesn't have $2 million hanging around in his piggy bank right now?
Okay. Do you think Syndergaard is worth the qualifying offer?
I didn't know the qualifying offer was $18 million, and absolutely not.
Okay,
but
I got to stop you right there.
Okay.
Because you're like the guy at the trial who says, no, but, and the defense attorney's like, I just asked you a yes or no question. Okay?
Okay.
I asked you if you thought Syndergaard was worth the qualifying offer, and you said no.
No, he wasn't.
That's it. Stop right there. Okay? So if you don't think he's worth the qualifying offer, then why should we pay him $22 million just to keep him on the roster? That's my question.
Well, see, like, the $18 million I don't agree with, and especially now that we just saw Justin Verlander get a $25 million contract from the Astros, it's kind of like, what's going on here? But
who's the more established pitcher?
Verlander, obviously.
Okay. I just want to hear you say that. Verlander.
No, Verlander's obviously the more established pitcher, but again, like I don't think he was
slot Syndergaard in the rotation.
You slot him at 2, honestly.
Oh, get out of here! Get out of here!
Well, right now we don't have Stroman back.
He's not a number 2. How can you put him as a number 2? The guy is just coming back from Tommy John surgery.
But I would say
he's going to pitch as much as DeGrom.
I think this is why I said 2. Because if in the situation we sign Stroman back, he's a 3. He's a 3. But in the situation we don't have Stroman currently right now, and if you were to put the roster together right now with Noah Syndergaard on it,
but
he's our number 2.
Pitched in 2 years.
I agree.
Pitched in 2 years.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I agree that he has flaws because like you said, he hasn't pitched in 2 years. But the Mets really don't have that much depth, because if you look behind Noah Syndergaard, it's Taijuan Walker. Taijuan Walker had a terrible second half of the season. Carlos Carrasco sucked. And you're going to rely on Tyler McGill or David Peterson to also be in this rotation? You
no,
can't
probably
do it.
not, but I think you can find other rotational guys. Look, to me, Syndergaard is a very unproven commodity at this stage of the game. He might be really good. He could be really bad.
No, you're absolutely right.
You really want to flush $22 million down the toilet to find out the answer to that question?
No. But the thing is, here's my thing, and like I said he's not worth he's not worth the qualifying offer. I think he was probably worth $12 million tops a year.
Okay, that's fair. Because
I think he's worth $12 million.
If I was an agent representing Syndergaard, I would say if the Mets didn't offer him the qualifying offer and let him walk. Now the Mets get a draft pick too, by
the way.
Yeah. Then you immediately equate him to Corey Kluber.
Mm-hmm.
What Corey Kluber got for 1 year, $11 million. Okay. Syndergaard, yeah, okay, maybe 12. I would do 12 on him. But again, he hasn't pitched in 2 years. We don't even know what his role is on the Angels roster. We don't know if he's a starter or are they going to move him to the bullpen and he's going to be a closer.
You're absolutely right.
But for a team like the Angels, you need more.
Yes.
You can't
Syndergaard cannot be your number one.
Ohtani and Syndergaard and say, okay, we're ready. Because then you're just wasting another year of Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani.
Yes. But my thing is with the Mets too, and why I thought they should have brought him back is, like I said, the Mets offered him the qualifying offer of $19 million.
He was going to take it. He was going to take it until he came in and offered him more money.
And that's the thing, though, and I think this is where it comes down to Alderson, because he didn't hire a GM, and he didn't want to shell out the extra $2 million for it. Because at that point, $2 million, you might as well be like, all right, fine, we're already offering him $8 million. We might as well just up the ante so we can keep him here. But also, he Tavares'd us. We got Tavares'd by Syndergaard because he was talking about, I want to stay here. I love New York.
Okay. What's the bit of that? Thank you for bringing that up. Okay? That's the fucking problem with Syndergaard. Syndergaard is the type of guy that is just like, he just talks shit. And I hate that. Yeah, I want to be a Met. I love it here. I want to stay here. I want to stay here. Blah, 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 fucking blah. Okay? And what happens? The minute somebody offers him $2 million more, bye. And he takes off.
And it's not like they even offered him like $10 million more. It's like, all right, fine. We can't even compete with that. Like $10 million. Okay, you go take your money. You deserve it. You know? It's $2 million. You can give us the home discount? Like no. What the fuck?
But that's my point, though. It's like all it took was $2 million more to go to another city. And he's going to be under a lot of pressure in that city because they have wasted Mike Trout for far too long.
Mm-hmm.
But they are still tied to a shitload of money. They still have to pay Rendon ridiculous money. They still have to think of Justin Upton. You still have to pay Mike Trout. And you got to start talking about a contract for Shohei Ohtani. The Angels are not going to be a great team this year. They might make the wild card, but they're not going to win the division. I don't think they're as good as they're not good as good as the Astros. Although that depends. If the Astros don't get Correa back, that's a loss. That's a big loss. But all this guy has done is talk shit for the past year and a half to 2 years. He's been injured, whether it's a lat injury, then he had Tommy John, then he came back, and then he had a setback, and then he came back again at another setback. I can't justify giving that guy $22 million. I just can't. I don't care if it's a one-year deal.
No, you're absolutely, like I said, again, I agree with you 100%. I don't think he deserves it all. I didn't think he deserved the qualifying offer.
Like, Stroman's another guy, in my opinion, that's going to overrate himself on the market. I think he's been a good pitcher, but he's also only been a 6-inning pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to pay somebody $30 to $40 million a year to pitch, they better be pitching you into the 8th inning almost every start.
No, you're absolutely right.
Especially a guy who pitches every fucking 5th day. So I wouldn't get my hopes up that Stroman will be back with the Mets next year. I don't know what the Mets are going to do. I mean, especially now with Epler in running the team, I'm not sure what the future holds. I have no idea. So, but right now it's just Epler to me. We'll just leave it at this. Epler to me is a very kind of sign because again, this whole thing was a disaster. So it didn't matter. You would have literally had to bring the second coming of Jesus Christ to be the GM of the Mets, and that would have the only way that would have sparked them fans' interest. Billy Epler is not a bad choice, but he doesn't move the needle as like, yep, off to the playoffs we go.
Yeah, it's not like
we don't know what the strategy is.
No,
we don't even know what the strategy is. We have no idea.
And again, it's not like Billy Epler had the best track record when he was with the Angels. Like, again, he made the only really good signing he made was Shohei Ohtani. That's it.
Yeah.
That is it.
All right, before we get to, we're going to do very quickly on the Knicks and Nets. Not really a lot because it's still very early in the season. So, Klim, I'm going back to see Cap in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
At Limbrook. And do you know who's going to be there?
I heard, isn't it, what's this? Bear Bronson's going to be there, right? I heard.
Matt Cardona.
Oh, yeah, he's fighting Eric James.
Yep. Bear Bronson just got announced to fight Bryce Donovan.
Mm-hmm. That should be a good match.
Brian Myers and VSK are teaming up.
I can't wait. Because, funny enough that you mentioned that, one of my buddies, he knows Brian Myers' dad because Brian Myers' dad lives in Glen Cove. And me and him are actually going to help volunteer at the toy drive for them.
Oh, good.
So
this is your time to sell the network.
I know.
Say, hey, would you, I would love for you to be on this show that we do. And
oh, absolutely.
Just say I would love to partner with you with Create a Pro on maybe like a promotional thing. What can we do? Let's talk. Don't be overwhelmed by it. Just, talk to the guy, just maybe you could set up something. Maybe they'll let you broadcast. Maybe they'll let you, interview the wrestlers. I don't know. Definitely worth a shot. I mean, I would.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Maybe you could do something where you can interview the guys backstage after matches or something.
Right.
Or you and I could do it or whatever you want. Good for you, man. That's awesome. That's awesome, man. That's pretty sweet. And you're doing a good thing too for a noble cause.
Yes.
Always remember that's the most important thing.
I like my one buddy who I'm doing it with. He texted me. He was like, "Yeah," because I collect the Funko Pops.
Oh,
he was like, He was like, "You should donate your most expensive one," and I was like, "I'm not donating my $150 Funko Pop to them."
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have 100. I went all out when I went to Comic-Con, and I bought like $400 worth of fucking Funko Pops. So he was like, "You should donate your most expensive one that you bought." I'm like, "I'm not donating my $150 Funko Pop."
Which one is that one?
It's a Canadian convention. Marty McFly playing the guitar, like from the first Back to the Future.
Yeah, I got to show my daughter that movie. That movie is so good.
Such a good movie. You know what you should show her while it's out now in theaters? The Ghostbusters movies.
You know what's funny, man? I really want to see Ghostbusters Afterlife.
So do I.
But I think she might get a little spooked out by it. But I'll see if she wants to go. But she's watching Squid Game with me, so.
Oh, okay.
9-year-old watching Squid Game. I'm gonna.
Good father.
It was her idea, not mine.
Oh.
Because all she wanted to see was the episode with red light, green light. That was it.
First episode.
That's the first episode, and she wanted to see it. But I said, I was like, the minute you get spooked out and don't want to watch it, we'll shut it off. But we watched 2 episodes of it. We haven't been able to watch much later.
Well, now that we're on the topic of movies, did you watch the new Spider-Man trailer?
I did not. Not yet. It's on my list.
So good. I can't wait for this movie.
Yeah, I haven't been to the movies in a while, so I mean, I want to see Ghostbusters. I mean, there's definitely like a few other movies I want to see, but it's just hard. The good news is my daughter's done cheerleading on Sunday. They're in the championship. Limbrook's in the championship game.
Oh, congratulations.
She's actually like really excited because they're cheering at Mitchell Field.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So she's like never been to never cheered, been on the field for like a big stadium type place. So
it's just like the grass in Limbrook. Yeah.
Yeah, she's really excited. So she's actually like, awesome. So it's Sunday morning. So congratulations to the Limbrook Titans. It was a lot of fun. This year was a lot of fun. It was definitely very.
That's awesome.
Going to the games, it was very cool. Being at watching my daughter cheerlead, it was a lot of fun. And next year, both my daughters are cheerleading, so that's
even better.
So. All right, so let's really quickly jump because I want to do the Jets stuff, but I want to just talk about the Knicks real quickly and the Nets. Just kind of a really early season review. It's way too early. to really generate any major opinions about the teams or whatever. I will say this. I think the Nets are right now still trying to figure out how to play without Kyrie.
Yes.
But I think they've played pretty well. But they've also gotten their ass kicked by some really good teams. That, to me, is a bit of a when you lose by almost 20 to the Golden State Warriors the other night, with Steph and Clay. Is Clay back?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure, but who's the kid they drafted in the first round this year?
No, wasn't it Wiseman?
No, Wiseman was last year.
Oh.
I can't remember who they drafted. Maybe look it up real quick. I want to say it was Jonathan Kuminga, but I'm not sure. I mean, but when the Nets are losing games like that, they're losing to the Bucks, losing to the Bulls. These are teams you're going to have to play in the postseason.
Right.
So that worries me just a little bit. But that being said, they've beaten the teams they should beat. They definitely had some big victories as well. I think they're slowly starting to figure out how to play as a unit without Kyrie. Durant has been amazing as always. Harden has been very good. But one guy who's been really good for the Nets this year, Lamarcus Aldridge.
He has been. He's been really good.
Came back. But now there's like a talk. Millsap left the team, or he's out for personal reasons. So I don't know if that means he wants off the team because he's not getting enough playing time. But Patty Mills is another guy who, remember when I said when they signed Patty Mills how happy I was?
Yes.
Right? He's been really good for them too. So I think it's just a simple case right now. The Nets are just trying to figure out how to play without Kyrie. And I think they are slowly getting there. They're not a dominant team though, but I think they're pretty much right where they left off last year. I think the key is just going to be health. I think it's just going to be making sure these guys stay healthy.
No, you're absolutely right. And I was listening to the Michael K show the other day, and he brought up a good point though. Like, don't you think with James Harden and Kevin Durant, two of probably arguably the top 4 players in the NBA right now, that they should be playing better than this? I feel like they shouldn't need Kyrie. Not that they don't need him. You could always use any team could use a Kyrie Irving. But these are two of the best players in the world, and they're still like you said, losing these big games.
Yeah. But overall, like I said, that's what worries me the most right now. Is like you lost to the Bucks on opening night, you lost to the Miami Heat, you lost to the Chicago Bulls. These are the teams you're going to be facing off against if you want to go to the finals this year and win a championship. You've got to beat those teams. But then they came back and beat the Hawks. They've beaten the teams that they should beat.
Right.
So there's that. But I just get very concerned that they're losing to good teams. So it's a little bit of a flag. Not a big one. Hopefully they can keep going as the season goes on and they just beat these teams. Now, on the other end for the Knicks, where do I begin with the Knicks? It's not a bad thing. It's not a terrible thing. So don't look too deeper than it needs to be. What I'm a little concerned about the Knicks is that the Knicks have beaten good teams, but they've played like crap against bad teams. And they've been terrible at the Garden this year to start the season.
Right.
They lost both games to the Orlando Magic at the Garden. They got completely shredded by Ricky Rubio at the Garden. Who else? They lost to, not the Hawks. Who else did they lose to? They've lost to like a lot of crappy teams to start. I know they lost to Indiana once. I think they lost to Charlotte. So
the Magic they've lost to.
Yeah, I mean, like, to me, it's like you can't lose to the Magic and expect to be a playoff team. And I think the Knicks, for the most part, they're a good roster, a solid roster. I like the youth a lot, and I really think they should stay that path because they've drafted very well under Leon Rose.
Mm-hmm.
Between Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quickly, I think the kid they just put in the G League, I forgot his name. They just said, I think he's going to be a pretty good player for them. I think it was Grimes, Quentin Grimes, I think is his name, or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Randall's been a good player. I don't think he's been as good. I think the Fournier-Walker combo has been a little overrated to start the season. I still, to this day, cannot understand how Kemba Walker is apparently the king of New York. But that's a story for another day because apparently he was, great. He played high school in the Bronx. Here's the problem with that. He didn't go to school in New York. He went to school. Okay. And he didn't play in New York. He played in Charlotte. And then he played in Boston before he finally came to the Knicks. So it's like, let's cut the bullshit on the King of New York crap about Kemba Walker. Okay?
Yeah. I mean, like, look, the Knicks, they can't be playing like this, especially if they want to make the playoffs. When you have teams like the Wizards, who are in first place, the Bulls and the Hornets, who are all, I mean, look, like you said, it's way too early to tell anything, but the Wizards are playing great. The Bulls look like they could be the best team in the East, and the Hornets are playing good as well. So the Knicks need to be better because let's not forget, you still have the 76ers, the Celtics, the Raptors, and the Bucks, and the Hawks, still fighting in this East team. This Eastern Conference is very loaded this year.
Exactly. And the thing is, all those teams got better. Chicago got a lot better, bringing in Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, just to name a few guys, to go with Zach LaVine. The Nets obviously are the Nets. The Bucks are the Bucks. The Sixers, without Ben Simmons, are still trying to figure out their way. And the Hawks crushed the Knicks last year. Mm-hmm. And they basically brought back the same roster. They brought back the same exact roster from last year. Trae Young, Capella, Kevin Huerter.
I say the Knicks didn't really do anything to change their roster either. All they did was add an injured Kemba Walker.
And Fournier's been okay. He hasn't been amazing, but he hasn't been bad.
Yeah.
So the thing is right now is I don't really know. I mean, the jury is still out on both of these teams right now because it's still very early in the season. But I think the Knicks losing a lot of these games to bad teams is a really weird sign. It's not a great sign for them right now.
Right.
But we have to see how this – because I think Thibodeau's starting to get frustrated because they're not playing well. I mean, they're not playing well. And the thing is – I said this to Keith earlier today. The style of basketball in the NBA has completely changed. It is not the same as it used to be. And prime example of what I'm talking about. I was watching the highlights from last night's Knicks game when they played the Magic and they lost. They let these guys take wide open shots. Everything is predicated around the outside shot now in the NBA. There's no physicality under the boards anymore. There's no aggressiveness, charging and all that stuff. Now when a guy drives the lane, they just let him go right by. Nobody takes a foul. Everybody's afraid to set up for a pick or a charge. You imagine if Emmanuel Quickly, let's say, played in the days of Barkley, Oakley, Rodman, he'd get fucking clotheslined.
Well, that's what I like. I don't know if you probably have seen the Bad Boys 30 for 30 on ESPN, right? About the Pistons.
Yep.
Like that basketball, I'm like, oh shit! Like they literally made a set of rules for Michael Jordan. Like you couldn't get away with this shit. Like Bill Laimbeer was literally throwing hands every game.
Crushed.
Dennis Rodman was ready to throw hands. You're not seeing this in this NBA, and it's soft. It's really soft.
And that's what I was saying. Like everything, even when I watch the Nets highlights, same thing. Everything is Joe Harris from three, Kevin Durant from the outside. Nobody drives the lane anymore unless the lane is wide open.
Yep.
If there's some big fucker standing in front of the net, I'm telling you right now, nobody's driving that lane. It's completely predicated on the outside shot now. That's why the scores are so fucking high in basketball these days. There's not a lot of defense. There really isn't.
No, there's not.
But that's our state of both teams. They're off to the Nets are off to a good start. The Nets are probably off to a little bit of a better start than the Knicks. If you're a Knicks fan, I think you're concerned about the way they're playing against bad teams, almost like they're playing down to their competition. And as for the Nets, your concern is that they can't beat the good teams. And that's what you're going to need to do to win a championship.
Exactly. Because they're the best teams. You want to beat the best teams. You don't want to beat the shitty teams if you're the Nets. You want to beat the best teams. Okay,
Klim, it is time. I've been looking forward to this, actually. So, what I decided to do, in a hopes to piss off Jets Nation is I have made a timeline of all the times they have bitched and moaned about everything. Okay? Where the opinions made no sense, where the opinions were incoherent, where the opinions were just flat out wrong. How many times they wanted to fire a coach after the first game of the season? How many times they wanted to get rid of Joe Douglas when Joe Douglas didn't sign a guy they wanted? I have made what I think is a really awesome timeline. Okay?
I'm ready for this.
Okay. And you'll know what I mean when I'm right. By the way, before we close the show, we're going to recap how the former Jets players did last week. Jamal Adams with an interception finally. And we're just going to talk a little bit about the Islanders and UBS Arena for the upcoming weekend's home opener against Calgary and the day after against Toronto. Okay, so here it is. So we start in January 2021. Here it is. Robert Saleh leaves the interview with the Jets without a contract offer. Jets fans take to social media to rip the team. Pissed off, they let him leave the building. He's probably going to go to the Philadelphia Eagles. And once again, the Jet fan gets screwed out of getting a good coach. So, Klim, we all know how this ended, right?
No, yes.
Okay.
We know how this ended.
End result, a few days later, Robert Saleh signs a 5-year contract to become the Jets head coach. So, again, much ado about nothing. All right, so there's Jets Nation bitching number one. See what I mean? It's these knee-jerk reactions to everything. That's what sucks about social media, by the way, is that it's a knee-jerk reactions to everything. Like the minute something bad happens, this is it. I'm the crappy, I'm the Jets fan that never gets to. And listen, I have accepted the fact that I will be dead before the Jets win a Super Bowl. And I am convinced of that. Okay? By the way, your video is coming in a little choppy, just letting you know.
So, okay. What is?
What's that?
I don't know what's so slow.
Do you need to jump out and jump in? Because I just didn't understand anything you just said.
I hear you.
Nope. Your mic sounds like shit. It's not coming. It's not coming clear. There, I'm back. Klim's going to reboot for a minute, so we'll table this for a split second. So basically, getting back to what we were saying, just about the Jets in general, getting back to this weekend's game. We'll just kind of pivot to this until Klim gets his shit together. I just want to see W's at this point. I'm tired of the losses. I'm tired of my Sundays being ruined by kickoff at 1 o'clock. Game starts at 1:30. I'm tired. It's exhausting. And I just want to see the Jets win a game and just enjoy my Sundays. To recap what we were talking about before, for anybody who's just jumping in right now, we just kind of feel that the overreaction to Joe Flacco starting on Sunday is a disaster. It just doesn't make any sense. We don't understand why people are so pissed about it. We don't understand why the Jet fan base is flipping out about it. We don't understand any of it. And while I understand the part about Saleh saying, about throwing away Mike White, and it looks, of course it looks contradictory, which I don't disagree with. The fact is Saleh needs to win games. And if he believes that Joe Flacco is the guy, then who am I to argue with him on that? Who am I to argue? Joe Flacco is a veteran. You fucking Jet fans wanted a veteran mentor for weeks and weeks over the summer. That's all I heard. All I heard were the Jets beat writers complaining endlessly about not having the veteran mentor for Zach Wilson. You finally get one, albeit halfway through the season, and you're still complaining about it. Because now you're sitting there saying to yourself, well, I want Josh Johnson to start instead of Joe Flacco. Why are we starting Joe Flacco? Why can't we start Josh Johnson? I don't even know if I want to go into the season with Josh. There's a reason why Josh Johnson is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. He's not bad, but he's not good. And I still think Flacco gives you the better chance to win. But what sealed Mike White's fate was the cockiness. In a game that he shouldn't really have been cocky. He should have just been more focused. I think he loved the Mike White chance all around. I'm a little worried that Klim's not back yet. The Mike White chance all around. I think he pretty much took it as, I've arrived and yeah, that's right. I'm going to let it go to my head. Then comes out during the press conference and talks about how he feels he should have been the number 1 overall pick when he was drafted in the 5th round. These are the types of things that for a guy like him are not necessary to say out loud. There's okay to have a quiet confidence about yourself. Just have that confidence. Your team will feed off that. But I feel like he kind of let his 15 minutes as instant celebrity get right to his head. And I think he wasn't focused for that game. And that's why they lost. That's part of the reason why they lost. The defense got shredded. That was the real reason why they lost. So bear with me 1 second. I don't know what's going on with Klim. So getting back to that, the key to this game is going to be more on the defensive side of the football. I don't think it's really going to matter how Joe Flacco plays on Sunday. Joe Flacco's job on Sunday is basically going to be to just manage the game, keep drives sustained so the defense gets a breather, cut the 3 and outs, just get the ball to the receivers, try to extend drives, try to wear out Miami's defense if you can, and then hope that the defense comes up with some kind of adequate game plan, some kind of a competent game plan. Because now you've had another big injury. And the thing is, every injury on the Jets defense is big. Doesn't matter how good the guy is or how bad they suck. It's the fact of you don't have the depth to make up for it. You don't have the pieces in place to make up for any losses. The Jets have very little margin of error when it comes to injuries. Because quite frankly, the roster is not that good right now. So without a guy, for example, like Brandon Echols, who, listen, he's not – oh, there he is.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Jesus Christ. Instead of buying wrestling T-shirts, why don't you buy yourself a new system?
It's not – I just think I got to buy a new laptop. Yeah, this one's getting pretty old.
Start working that overtime, man.
I got to.
So, okay, now we're going to pivot back because I had to figure out what to talk about while you got your shit rebooted. So, to recap our first one that we talked about. January 2021, Robert Saleh interviews but leaves the building without an offer. Jet fans have a heart attack, saying, oh, yeah, they let a good coach out of the building. Why'd they let him leave? We're going to wind up with Gase. We're going to wind up with this, blah, blah, blah. And 3 days later, what happened, Klim?
You signed Saleh.
Signed Saleh. So once again, all that bitching and moaning for absolutely nothing. All right. March 2021, free agency begins. Jets fans are pissed that they are armed with tremendous amounts of cap space, and they did not give Joe Thuney whatever he wanted. And what was the end result of that? Thuney basically had to choose between the Jets, who are completely rebuilding, and the Chiefs, who have gone to back-to-back Super Bowls. There's a tough decision. Right? There's a tough decision. But of course, it's always, yeah, just give him whatever he wants. It's not our money that you're spending, but give him whatever he wants. Give him over $100 million. Do you think Joe Douglas is going to pay over $100 million for a fucking guard?
No.
No. So there's that. But again, nobody thinks. It's always, we have all this cap space, we just got to fucking sign everybody. How many times have we gone down that road where we have had tons of cap space, signed all these awesome free agents, and we're still no better than 6 and 10? before it went to the 18 game season.
No, you're absolutely right. It's happened way too many times. Way too many times to even count. And Jet fans, if you're watching this, you know, or listening, you know who these players are that we signed. It's like, oh, I can't believe we signed them for this much money. But we wanted these players.
I'll name them right now. Darrelle Revis in his second stint with the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tremaine Johnson. Le'Veon Bell. I'll even throw C.J. Mosley in there. I don't think C.J. Mosley's been worth $85 million so far. Okay. Who else? I know I'm missing somebody.
Crowder
is probably the one guy that's been really good. Jameson Crowder.
Yeah, he's probably been it. Or here, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
We gave Mo Wilkerson a big contract. He crapped the bed. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, we have gotten killed on bad contracts. Bad contracts. We've gotten crushed. That's not the strategy, Joe Douglas. And like I said, you can't fire this guy right now. You got to give him at least one more season.
Yes.
April 2021. Ready? You'll love this one. Joe Douglas trades Sam Darnold to the Panthers for a 6th-round pick in 2021 and 2nd and 4th round picks in 22. Fans get really, really pissed off because they believe that the only thing that Sam needs to succeed in New York are weapons. That all he needs is weapons, and he's going to be a Pro Bowl quarterback. So how did that turn out, Klim?
Terrible.
So after a good start, a couple of good games, thank you, Christian McCaffrey, Darnold pretty much has crapped the bed. He leads the league in interceptions. He's fumbled the ball like 5 times, I think, too, which is insane. And now he has a fractured shoulder. The Panthers are already hinting he's out for the season. And even if he does come back, he's probably not going to be the starter because they just signed Cam Newton.
Right.
And they still have to pay him for next year.
Oh, I love this.
They enforced the 5th-year option.
I love this.
Okay? So once again, Jet fans bitching and complaining about absolutely nothing. Next one, draft day. Jets select Zach Wilson number 2 overall, but pretty much most of the fans wanted Justin Fields. Now, here's the thing about this one. This is one you got to table for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really make a commitment to this one yet. But when looking at their stats, they're literally exactly the same.
Yeah, it's both. You flip a coin and you have both the same quarterback. No one's.
They have the same amount of throwing touchdowns. Fields, I think, has 1 less interception than Wilson right now. But Fields has been sacked over 30 times and he's the most sacked quarterback in the league right now. And for a while, that was Zach Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's Justin Fields. And it has nothing to do with Zach Wilson being injured. That's part of it. But the offensive line has actually played better.
Right.
They haven't given up as many sacks as they used to. Okay. Let's fast forward. Summer 2021. Franchise tag deadline passes, and the Jets and Marcus May fail to agree on an extension. May's agent accuses the Jets of lowballing his client, and fans once again flip out on social media because one of their favorite players will most likely not be a Jet after this season. So that's how it started. Here's how it turned out. May sprained his ankle and misses a few weeks of the season. Then a report surfaced that he was arrested for a DUI, injured a person, and fled the scene of an accident. Never reported it to the league, never reported it to the Jets. And oh, by the way, ruptured his Achilles tendon 2 weeks ago, is out for the season and probably more into 2022. So again, see, Joe Douglas is a lot smarter than you guys think. While it may not be segueing into wins and losses, the fact is he's made every decision on former Jets. He has nailed.
Oh, yeah.
1,000% nailed it. Traded Jamal. Jamal's a bum. Passed on Robbie Anderson. Yeah, Robbie Anderson had a good year last year. Not having a good year this year.
Terrible year this year.
Traded Sam Darnold for a second-round pick and a fourth-round pick. Sam's not even the starter anymore in Carolina. Now Marcus May's probably going to be gone after the season because of all this crap going on. That is why you don't get rid of a guy like Bill Bubbles. You just don't. Like, I think you got to hold on to him for as long as you can. All right. Jets head into training camp with no veteran backup to Zach Wilson, facing ridiculous backlash from the fans and press because they elect to move forward with Mike White and James Morgan as their backups. Basically, they decided to ride with Mike White, and as we will see later, it pays off for a week. And it proves once and for all that the veteran mentor is complete garbage.
Bullshit. Yep.
Okay, next one. Here's the problem. Jameson Crowder is excused from practice in advance of a possible trade before the start of the season. Jets want him to take a pay cut, even though they have plenty of cap space to absorb his full salary. Jets are accused by the media and fans of being cheap and to just pay Crowder for this season. And how did it end up? Crowder takes a $5 million pay cut to stay with the Jets. How about that, Klim?
Such a nice guy he is.
So again, Jet fans bitching and complaining about nothing. Endless complaining. It's the only thing they do consistently well is complain. And I get it. They've had a lot to complain about because the Jets have been a bad team for a lot of years. But this is the shit that makes me laugh. When you see them complain endlessly, and then the exact opposite happens, and then they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Now they want to pretend like, oh my God, I never said that. I remember Connor Hughes was ripping the Jets on his podcast because the Jets just did he was basically saying that the Jets even getting into this with Crowder makes no sense because you're basically just saying, you're just causing another distraction that the team doesn't need right now.
Right.
But because of that, guys like Elijah Moore couldn't see the field because they both play the slot, the same position. Guys like Denzel Mims can't see the field. So it's like the Jets are basically saying, look, I'm not paying you $10 million when we have all these other receivers. So you're going to get more money from us than you are from the other teams. The other teams are going to sign you for like $2 million, like $3 million. There was no cap dead hit on the Jets cap. That was creepy, by the way. Okay, next one. Now we get into the 2021 season. Despite having plenty of depth at receiver, Jets fans complain endlessly that the team should play Denzel Mims. Saleh wants him to be a better all-around receiver and continues to deactivate him week by week. How did it end up? Jets fans get their prayers answered by the organization. They decide to start Denzel Mims. They start to play Denzel Mims after injuries to Corey Davis, Keelan Cole, I think even Jameson Crowder as well. And while Mims has made some plays, I'm not saying he hasn't, he's also made some brutal drops, including dropping a touchdown from Mike White in the Bengal game. Now, all of a sudden, all the Denzel Mims lovers disappeared. They're gone. Just like the Darnold defenders, gone. Now no one wants to stand by their opinion. No media guys standing by their opinion about they should have kept Sam Darnold. Everybody went radio silent as soon as Darnold started crapping the bed. You can easily just say the Jets made a good decision. It's okay to say that once in a while. Nothing wrong with that. But I digress. Okay, next problem. Offense under Mike LaFleur struggles out of the gate. Fans complain that he should be fired because he is incompetent, because he's inexperienced, because he doesn't know what he's doing, etc. Here was the fix. He moved upstairs to the booth. Now the offense is better. Problem. Zach Wilson gets hurt during Week 7 loss to New England. Fans immediately fear the worst and do the, quote, they should have added a veteran mentor dance. How's it going? Jets trade for Joe Flacco as insurance. Name Mike White their starter for following week against Cincinnati. Everybody's like, Mike White sucks. Why is he on the field and everything? And Mike White proceeds to throw for 405 yards and 2 touchdowns and beats the Cincinnati Bengals. Everybody's chanting Mike White at the games. The players are saying that's Mike effing White. And for 1 week, a star was born. Okay. Problem. Zach Wilson practices again, but Saleh names Mike White the starter against the Bills. Fans are happy, but have completely overblown the Mike White hype train and expect the game to be similar to the Cincinnati game where he threw for 400 yards. Some fans are already bitching that they should have never drafted Wilson, and some fans are even saying they should trade Wilson and roll with Mike White permanently. And how did that end up, Clem? White is a brutal game, throws 4 interceptions, and a 41-17 loss to the Buffalo Bills. And the only passing TD came from?
Joe Flacco. And then finally, Jets elect to start Joe Flacco for Sunday's game against the Dolphins as Wilson is still not 100% healthy. Fans complain endlessly about the move as some have moved on to the let's play for the draft pick portion of the season, to which I reply, it is way too early, but man, I hope they fucking win on Sunday. So do I.
I hope they win. I hope Joe Flacco throws for like 3 touchdowns. I'm not kidding. I will crack up if the Jets win on Sunday with Joe Flacco.
Oh, that'll be fantastic.
But you know what the sad part is, Clem? Even if the Jets win on Sunday, it will be dismissed. You know why? Because the Dolphins suck.
Yep.
And it's not an exciting win for all the people that want to see Jets victories.
Yes. So
the douchebags of the world like Evan Roberts, Mike Greenberg, they'll just sit on their radio shows bitching and complaining. And when if the Jets win on Sunday, if they beat Tua and the Dolphins, the first thing they're going to say is, big deal. They beat the Dolphins. Who cares?
Yeah.
So it's like when you lose, you're ready to just run roughshod over the whole franchise. When you win a game, it's not important. The team can't win, man.
Can't win. It's like you can't win. It's like, oh great, you guys did good. You guys play good. Nope, you played the Dolphins. So it's like, the fuck? Make up your mind.
Yeah. All right, before we finish up the show with the Islander stuff, I want to just recap how former Jets fared last week. This is always one of my favorite parts of the show because it really shows how smart Joe Douglas was. Okay? So here we go. Now, caveat, Leonard Williams was off this week on a bye week, so he has no stats, but overall he's been a decent player. And Geno Smith is no longer the starter in Seattle because Russell Wilson came back, so Geno Smith is off the list. All right, so we go with Sam Darnold.
Didn't start.
Did not play due to shoulder injury suffered in last week's loss to the Patriots. Panthers are hinting he could be done for the season. If this is really the end of the road for Sam for 2021, these are his stats. 1,986 yards passing, 7 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 5 rushing touchdowns.
It's terrible.
And they have to pay him $20 million next year.
Oh my god, it's so bad. He's not good.
So Cam Newton is a starting quarterback, so the new Jets, all the Jet fans are now complaining, like, oh, now the pick's not going to be as high and everything. So what? So what? You have 2 1s and 2 2s. Honestly, if the pick is low enough, I would not be surprised if Douglas trades out of the second round.
Yeah.
And acquires another third rounder. Okay. Next up, Jamal Adams. They lost 17-0 to the Packers, so they're now 3-6. And as of today, the Jets have the 3rd and 7th pick in the 2022 draft. 11 total tackles, 7 solo, And finally, Klim, after a year and a half in Seattle, Jamal Adams has an interception.
It was a gimme interception. I don't even count it as a real interception. He didn't do anything to earn it.
Well, apparently he took some shit on Twitter. I don't know if you saw it. He put he put like, oh, meme this. It was like a picture of him intercepting the ball from Davante Adams, and the fans roasted him. They roasted him, dude. Like, basically, they were like, your team lost 17-0, and you're singling yourself out for one fucking play.
Yeah. And again, it wasn't even like, oh, he played great coverage and made a great play. Aaron Rodgers was literally getting sacked, and he just threw the ball up into the end zone. He didn't do anything spectacular. It was placed right in his lap.
All right. For the season for Jamal Adams, 44 tackles, 1 interception, no sacks, 3 passes defended. So the guy who set the record last year with 9.5 sacks has 0. And we're going into week 11, right? I think it's week 11.
Overrated.
And they have a matchup. I think they play Washington this weekend. All right, Robbie Anderson. 4 catches, 37 yards, and a touchdown. They beat Arizona. They killed Arizona with Cam. For the season, 23 catches, 243 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And the weird thing about Robbie Anderson, I don't know if you follow him on Instagram, he had this weird man crush video he put on his page with Cam Newton. And it was a picture of him standing next to Cam Newton, like smiling. And then it kept going back to the touchdown he caught, which was like a 4-yard touchdown on an out. Like, it wasn't like a deep pass or anything. It was like literally like a square out. And like, I'm like, why is Robbie Anderson making such a why does Robbie Anderson have this weird man crush on Cam Newton all of a sudden? Because he threw him 1 touchdown? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So Robbie continues to crap the bed, although he finally had a decent game. But he's also not had a 100-yard game this year.
He sucks.
All right, next up, Chris Herndon. This is the creme de la creme of crap right now. 1 catch for 14 yards, no touchdowns. They beat the Chargers. Chargers once again overrated. I remember everybody was on the Charger bandwagon, and they are just right back to where I expected them to be. They are such an overrated football franchise. For the season, 3 catches, 23 yards, and a touchdown. And we have the Vikings 4th-round pick.
Terrible.
And last but not least, one guy I added, because he kind of badmouthed the Jets too, Terrell Basham. He's on Dallas right now. So 4 tackles, 3 solo, no sacks. On the season, 20 tackles, 8 solo, and 1 sack on the season.
Also terrible.
He's basically what he is on the Jets.
Yeah.
He's not really playing any type of significant role on the Cowboys roster. So we'll update this for the next show, which will be after the holidays, when hopefully we'll get guests back on again. We got to get Jake on again. I got a bone to pick with Jake. When Jake is already trying to predict how long Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas are going to be together on the same, before they get fired. Right. It's a slow week in Jake Asmanville. But on the other hand, every time I watch Titanic, I immediately pivot back to you and him talking about how Rose is the worst human being in the world.
She's such a piece of shit. Look, it's that's a whole conversation for another time. But because I can go on about how just a terrible person she is. But she is.
It's like, you could have just made a little bit more room on the trunk.
Not even that. She's a hoe bag.
That is true. She's a bit of a hoe.
Like, she's definitely a big time hoe bag. Like,
all right, easy. We'll wait till Jake comes on, and we'll pivot to this again. All right. Before we get out of here, we just want to kind of say that, this is one thing we haven't really talked about too much. is hockey. And the big news, obviously, this week is that the Islanders are getting ready to finally open USB Arena Saturday night against the Calgary Flames after a very long road trip where I didn't know what to make of it, Klim.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know how I feel about the Islanders bringing back literally the same exact roster from last year, with the exception of Zach Parise and Zdeno Chara. Okay? But I also think that being on the road for as long as they were, I think just took its toll.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I just think being on the road, and the thing is, the only thing they had remotely close to a home game was against the Devils at the Prudential Center. So to me, it was like, I think they did the best they could, but you have to get back to home games again. Like, you can't just keep going on the road. And, you know, now in a good way, you know, teams like Winnipeg are off the schedule. You know, some of the Western Canada, Vegas is off the schedule, like going away to Vegas where they beat. So there's that. You know, the bad part of it is that they also got crushed in a lot of those games. They got smoked by the Panthers 6-1. They lost to the Flood. They lost to the Lightning. You know, they had a lot of brutal losses at the same time. Now, that being said, we've waited so long for this arena. So I am really looking forward to them finally having a home and to just putting an end to this nonsense about back and forth to Barclays or games at the Coliseum. It's just going to be really good for them. The only thing I would say is whoever's going to that game Saturday, go early.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a fucking disaster around that place.
Oh, absolutely. I don't doubt it.
It's going to be such a disaster. I mean, the key with the Islanders is I just think they look old. I just think they look old. And I hate that. You know, I just want to see them put together a good unit. But I need to see, but again, they have not replaced John Tavares. Still have not replaced John Tavares' scoring. And I think you're seeing guys like Barzell and Beauvillier, and they're like, they show up in spurts. Not enough. It's not consistent enough. And if you're going to try to hang, because right now you're behind the Rangers by 10 points.
Right.
You got to start making a run. You can't keep kind of going win one, lose one, win two, lose one. You got to win like 5 or 6 in a row to get back into this thing. So hopefully this homestand will do it. Hopefully this homestand will put them right back on the path. You know, Kyle Palmieri, doesn't even have a goal yet this year. But their record is the same as it was last year. The only difference was a lot of those games this year, they were on the road. So I expect UBS Arena to be rocking on Saturday. I think it's going to be fucking insane. I'm not going, but I'm just saying I think it's going to – I know somebody who is going. A girl I work with at the hotel has season tickets.
Ooh.
So, but it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm hoping the Islanders finally just wake up and get back into this, because what I'm afraid is going to happen is that they're going to hit their peak with Trotz, and they're not going to recover from that. Thoughts, or are you watching porn again?
No, I'm sorry. I don't know if you can see the bottom of my of our little ticker, but
more releases?
More releases just came out, and it looks like it is John Morrison, Hit Row.
The entire Hit Row?
Top Dollar, Ashanti Adonis, and Isaiah Swerve Scott. So Hit Row in general. Tegan Knox.
Jesus.
Drake Maverick.
Jeez.
Shane Thorne, and Jackson Ryder.
Well, Shane Thorne wasn't really being used since Retribution. Wow, Hit Row. Man, what a fall from grace, because they were fucking awesome in NXT.
I wasn't a big fan of them.
You didn't like Hit Row?
I was not a big fan of Hit Row. You know why? Because it threw me off, because about maybe 5 months ago, WWE had like A&E shows going on, and one of the A&E shows was like, oh, like these guys go around and try to find, the WWE like lost memorabilia. And the guy who was like basically like hosting the show was top dollar in NXT. So it was like weird to see him go from like, oh my God, I'm such a WWE fan, I'm gonna go help collect all this WWE memorabilia, and then go watch him on NXT. It's like, oh, you're supposed to be a heel now? Like, how am I supposed to believe that? Like, it was weird. So it just never got caught off from that.
The crazy thing I read the other day was that the WWE is basically going to release NXT guys every 6 months.
Jesus Christ!
Like if they don't feel like they're cutting it, like as like when basically it's like if Vince doesn't like you, you're gone in 6 months. That's basically what it is. That's basically what they're. If you read between the lines, but it's like Tegan Knox barely even got a chance to succeed. I mean, Hit Row was a pretty good faction, and they didn't get a chance to succeed. Triple H just be like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?"
Yeah,
like I just built up all these wrestlers, and you're cut them. Like Triple H must be like beside himself. If I was Triple H, I'd be like, "Listen, I'm done. I've had enough." I was like, "I'm resigning, and I'll just live off Stephanie's money for the rest of my life."
It's stupid.
I mean, that's insane. That's absolutely insane that those guys all got cut.
Yep. When you said all of Hit Row,
I was like, all of Hit Row? Morrison, I wouldn't be surprised if Morrison asked for his release because after Taya Valkyrie got released.
Yeah.
Maybe he wants to just be, but there was nothing going for him anyway. Miz is still hurt, or Miz is still doing Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially with Miz gone, there was nothing he could have done.
Wow. And who else? Well, Jackson Riker he sucked. He wasn't anything.
Yeah, the rest of the names on there were like, who cares? But
Shane Thorne was just being used for retribution and nothing more. Wait, so it was Tegan Knox.
It was John Morrison, Hit Row, Tegan Knox, Drake Maverick, Shane Thorne, and Jackson Riker.
Yeah, Drake Maverick was useless. He wasn't anything special.
Yeah, I don't really care. I get it. Like, other than Top Dollar and Tegan Knox, I really don't care about them.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where all these people go.
I wouldn't be surprised if John Morrison goes back to Impact. Tegan would be great in AEW. Drake Maverick probably go back to Impact as Rockstar Spud.
Yeah, but the only thing is that, well, I think also the fact that Ring of Honor is kind of folding up right now.
Right.
That's one less federation they can go to. So these guys are going to be working the indie circuit for a while.
Yeah.
Making appearances and stuff. But I guess my thing is that would you really go to AEW right now unless they really like had something for you?
Yeah. It's packed. AEW's packed now.
Like, I mean, like for example, Swerve Scott is a tremendous indie wrestler when he was Shane Strickland. But would you go to AEW knowing full well that no one's really going to know who you like? They'll see you, but it's not really going to be like anything major. I mean, yeah, Tegan Knox can go to like Impact, or she can wind up going to WWE, or going not to WWE, to AEW. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I honestly don't know. Like, it's weird. Like, again, Tegan Knox was about like, or as the Pisanos put on on What's Wrong with Wrestling, she got Thanos.
That was so funny. Oh my gosh.
He says that like about it. He goes, "Oh, Shotzi and Knox got Thanos recently." But it was like, I can't believe they caught those guys. Oh my god.
I'm not surprised. With all these releases, I'm not surprised anymore.
All right, so before we get out of here, any big Thanksgiving plans? Or are you working?
I'm working. Only working till like 6 though, so not too bad.
Okay. I'm going away for Thanksgiving for the first time in over 2 years.
Ooh, where you guys going?
We're going to visit my sister in Baltimore.
That should be fun.
So the kids really want to go. They haven't seen the kids in like over like almost 2 years. So
yeah, that should be fun.
And tomorrow my kids are officially getting their first vaccine shot.
Nice.
So, and I'm getting my COVID booster tomorrow.
There we go. Look good. We've got bright things ahead of us.
Hey, listen, it's either I get them vaccinated or I run the risk of them getting COVID and now you've got to sit home with them for 2 weeks. And I don't know if I really want to do that. So I will take the vaccine. So, but yeah, so tomorrow's a pretty big day. So in honor of their vaccines, we promised them something we've never gotten them at all since they've been born,
Oh.
and that is McDonald's.
Oh, that's right. I remember you said you don't. Yeah, you never.
My wife and I never gave them fast food. We never. Well, Kentucky Fried Chicken was like the closest thing they had to fast food. But yeah, we would not take them to McDonald's or Burger King or any of that stuff. Now we would eat that ourselves on our own,
Right.
but we would not get them McDonald's because we knew they would become like addicted. Where every time we ordered out, they'd want to go there.
Right.
And we were like, no.
You got to get like their reaction on it, like on video or something, like their first time having.
I'm going to take a picture of them eating it. And I'm like, this is the first time Riley and Reese have had McDonald's in their lifetime.
That's so crazy. That's
And
funny.
There's going to be parents. There's going to be parents like, what? Are you out of your mind? And I'm like,
Are they excited to get it? Like,
they haven't stopped talking about it. They haven't stopped talking about it for like 2 days. Riley makes sure to tell me in the morning. She's like, you know, I just want to remind you. I'm like, yeah, Riley, I fucking know McDonald's. I heard you. She's like, all right, fine. I'm just trying to tell you. And I'm like, yeah, you keep telling me all the time. We know. We're not stupid. We made a promise to you. We're going to keep it. So
she's excited.
Yeah. So it's vaccine for cholesterol burgers. So before I get out of here, I just want to say congratulations to the Lynbrook Titans once again. The 9-year-olds from in the I think it's the NYCFL. They are playing for the championship on Sunday morning at 9:15 against Rockville Center at Mitchell Field. My daughter will be cheerleading for the Titans in that game, and it's been a lot of fun. This season has been a lot of fun. Last week we were doing the cheerleaders had the color wars.
Mm-hmm.
Do all these races and everything, and me and like one of the moms I'm friends with, we were just like talking shit to each other the whole time because our kids were on opposite sides, right? And she goes like, "Oh yeah," she's like, "Oh, my daughter's really good at this, the egg thing. She dropped the egg." And I go, "Yeah, she's the only kid out of all of them that dropped the egg." I go, "Look at Riley." Even though I'd said before the egg drop thing started, I said, this is one event that I will concede defeat because my daughter is completely uncoordinated. Right? And she started cracking up. She's like, yeah, me too. She's like, she's really good. Drop the egg. Right? So at the end of it, they were like, well, it was really close. Meanwhile, gold team completely destroyed green team, which is Riley's team. So Riley's on gold. And they're like, but it came down to the M&M count. And I'm like, oh, you got to be fucking kidding me. Right? And she's like, and the winners are the green team. And I'm like, and I was like, you got it. I was like, why'd you even put us through this?
Why'd you even put us through this?
Like, why'd you put these poor kids through this? They're doing relay races and tug of war and trying to get a hula hoop through like a snake line. And it all came down to fucking M&Ms. I was like, oh, God. I was like, and I stopped myself and I go, holy crap, I became a cheer dad. I go, what the fuck is wrong with me? And like the woman starts cracking up next to me.
It could be worse. You could be a dance mom.
Yeah, I was almost like that though. But it was like, it was all in good fun. We had a lot of fun with it though. Like there was one part where I said like where like the mom that like who I'm friends with like that I was talking shit to, she went away and she was looking at her phone. And when she came back, I go, oh, were you trying to make sure that the final Venmo payment got to the coaches so your daughter's team could win? So it was like we were just like cracking jokes the whole time, right? They were doing like the freeze dance, and at one point, like one of the little girls, like she was like 6 years old, she kind of moved a little bit, and I don't know what came over me. I go, she moved. It's really funny. We had a lot of fun with it. I said, but overall, it was an awesome season. Like my daughter loved it. It was definitely well worth the money that we paid for it, and you know she's really excited to be cheering in a stadium. So it's going to be
That's awesome.
More like stadium. So it'll be a lot of fun for her. Not going to be a lot of people there, but so. All right, everyone. Look, that's going to do it for the Moffett on the Mic show for this week. Thank you, everybody, for checking us out. Courtesy of, what's the name of this site again?
StreamYard.
Thank you. And as well on the A1 Sports Network, you can follow the show on Instagram at Moff on the Mic. Follow Klim and the A1 Sports Radio Network on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can like and subscribe to our show courtesy of Apple Podcasts. Comment, leave us a 5-star review because it makes us feel so important to do this at the end of the day. We will be back after the Thanksgiving holiday, day to be determined, because I don't know if you can do Mondays again, Klim, after then. But
I'll let you know. Yeah, day to be determined.
But we will be taking next week off for the Thanksgiving holiday. And I'm very excited to be going to visit my family next week, who I have not seen in a very long time. So it'll be a lot of fun. Everyone, wherever you are, stay safe. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Enjoy the terrible football games that will be on Thanksgiving. Lions, Bears, really. And just enjoy everything. It was a lot of fun. This week was great. And, just wherever you are, stay safe. Have a great and happy Thanksgiving with your families. And we'll be back right after the Thanksgiving holiday, either that Monday or Thursday of the following week. So again, wherever you are, stay safe, enjoy your turkey. And that's it. Klim, have a happy Thanksgiving. And we will talk after the holidays. Have a great one, everybody.